Hello race fans and welcome to race 6 of 8 of the WIRLY Miniracers Cup Series. I'm your host Jeff Fiss, with me as always is co-host and race analysis Nate Durnert, and we are here at the Colosseum Speedway for the Firecracker 40.
Now Jeff, what's going on with this track here? It looks like a big ol' upside down Q.
I believe it's supposed to resemble a cherry bomb, Nate, like the team name.
Oh, well that's stupid.
Right, well looking to our drivers in the infield, we can see Sandra Justice, who is now driving the number 69 Hard Punch car, which is another brand that I am not personally familiar with, Nate.
Well Jeff, that's one of those lady beers, the ones that taste like fruits.
And how do you know that, Nate?
My wife drinks them.
You don't have a wife, Nate.
Well, fuck you, Jeff.
Insightful as always, Nate. Heading now to the points standings, I think it's important that we keep an eye on the drivers trailing in the points. This is the first time in the Cup Series where drivers could be eliminated from the championship competition if they cannot keep up in the points. Drivers like Demi McKnight and Will Duke have trailed so far behind that they are looking at must-win situations if they even want a chance at the championship.
Now Jeff, I just want to clarify, this is technically possible, right?
That's right, Nate. While it's not likely to happen, all of these drivers are still in contention. They're all still in it to win it, and we have seen some crazy things happen this season, so we cannot count anyone out yet.
I think I'm gonna count people out, Jeff.
You do that, Nate. Anyway, looking back to the track now, we're in the second lap of the first round of qualifiers. Sandra Justice, our points leader, has built a very strong lead for herself as they come around the large turn. And right behind her we see Will Duke, Tyler Marks, Frank Clemens, Julie Armstrong, and Darrell Lee all battling for those positions in the qualifier. Darrell Lee will sneak in through the big scramble around the bends here, and he will take second row inside in the Firecracker 40. Sandra Justice taking the pole position. Into the second round of qualifiers now, Richard Powers and Ashton Cunningham side by side. Ashton Cunningham will pull ahead after Richard Powers takes the inside barrel. Ashton Cunningham taking an early lead as they come around the big turn with Andrew White right behind in second, Richard Powers in third, that's Bill Duke in fourth, and Kyle Evans in fifth. As we come around the hairpins, Richard Powers trying desperately to defend that third place position from Kyle Evans and Bill Duke. We come to lap 2 of qualifiers.
I think qualifiers is something Richard's gonna need to start focusing on, Jeff, because it's not looking pretty.
Right you are, Nate. Despite starting in the front of pretty much every qualifier he's been in, Richard Powers only has one qualifier win to his name, and those are easy points that could come into play later in the season. But as they come around the hairpin for the second time, Ashton Cunningham has stayed ahead, and he will take first row outside for the Firecracker 40. And with that, we have the starting lineup for the Firecracker 40. Sandra Justice, Ashton Cunningham, Darrell Lee, Andrew White, and Julie Armstrong making out the top 5 with Richard Powers right behind. The starting lineup looks very bad for some drivers like Demi McKnight, Ryan Steele, and Molly West, who have a long way to go and are in a must-win situation if they want to stay alive in this
Jeff,
point
shut
season.
the fuck up. Do you see that? In the infield, there.
See what, Nate?
The cars, they're still in the infield, but they're on the track.
Nate, I have no idea what you're talking about. It could be a heat mirage. It is very hot out here in the desert.
Heat mirage my ass, Jeff. I can see him in the infield from here.
Nate, I think it's clear that I'm not seeing what you're seeing, and regardless, we have a race to be watching. Ashton Cunningham has pulled out to an early lead over Sandra Justice. Richard Powers there just surged ahead of Andrew White. He is now up in third. Andrew White in fourth, Bill Duke in fifth, and Dante Glum in sixth. Looking to the inside barrel around the big turn now. Richard Powers is going to hit it. He will drop back to fifth as they come around to the hairpins. Sandra Justice is going to get to the outside. She will pass Ashton Cunningham for the lead. Big scramble for positions around here. Ashton Cunningham is now battling with Will Duke, Andrew White, and Richard Powers for those top 5 positions. Will Duke looks to the inside of Ashton Cunningham around the big turn. Looks like he got a bit of a bump there off Andrew White. Lots of side-by-side racing right now. Richard Powers makes the pass on Andrew White. It's now Will Duke in second, Ashton Cunningham in third, Richard Powers in fourth, Andrew White in fifth, and Kyle Evans down in sixth. Kyle Evans now looking to the inside of Andrew White as they come around for lap 4. Kyle Evans will not make the pass, and Andrew White will get around Richard Powers to retake fourth. Sandra Justice has built a big lead for herself early on. We could see a repeat of last time, where Henry Young dominated on his home track here, and this could be big for Sandra Justice, who's actually still looking for her first win in the Cup Series. They come around the hairpin again, big scramble for positions. They're 4 wide there for a moment as they come around. Richard Powers getting stuck on the inside barrel, and that's gonna cost him big, Nate.
Well, that was just fucking stupid. I don't got anything else to say about that.
Well, regardless, as they come around the big turn, it's Bill Duke in second. Andrew White takes a big hit on the barrel there. Ashton Cunningham trying to pull ahead as they come to the hairpins. He can't quite do it, and now it's Dante Glum who's moved up to third. This could be big for the Violet Reapers, who are still looking for those big finishes to stay in the standings, but Ashton Cunningham will make the pass as they head into the big turn and will move back up to third.
This race is getting pretty rough, Jeff. I mean, they're really muscling each other around out there.
Right you are, Nate, and that shouldn't be surprising. As we get closer to the end of the season, these drivers are going to start getting desperate for those big finishes. As they come around for lap 7, Sandra Justice still holding on to a very strong lead with Will Duke in second, Ashton Cunningham in third, and there's Kyle Evans in fourth, but Dante Glum looking to the inside, but it doesn't look like he can quite complete the pass as they go through the big turn, and he will hold back at fifth. There's Andrew White in sixth, Richard Powers in seventh, Daryl Lee in eighth, Molly West and Tyler Marks battling for ninth as Will Duke drops back to 11th. We're starting to see a little more teamwork out of our drivers here with Gold, Drift, and Mountain Power, where one of them tries to defend the positions while the other makes plays, move up to the pack, and we're just seeing that now as Richard Powers makes the pass on Andrew White and will move up to 6th. We can see Kyle Evans holding back in 4th as Ashton Cunningham pulls away. Kyle Evans could be trying to defend that position so that Ashton Cunningham can make a run on the race leaders, but Dante Glum has already slipped by, and it looks like Richard Powers is going to do the same. It doesn't look like that strategy's paid off.
Yeah, I mean, defending positions like that ain't a very sound strategy, Nate. You could try and do it, but you actually have to be, good, and Kyle Evans is not very good.
Well, I don't like to use those kind of descriptors, Nate, but regardless, Kyle Evans has gone back on the offensive to try and regain some of that lost ground. Daryl Lee looks like he's going to try and block. He pushes Kyle Evans into the barrel around the hairpins, but it's not quite enough, and Kyle Evans will retake that position. Some very aggressive racing out of our drivers here.
And it's like I was saying before, Jeff, I like Daryl, I like Mountain Power, but they can't be driving defensive like that. That's fucking stupid. They need to be going on the attack, and they need to be taking those positions. Driving defensive like this is just going to slow you down, and it's going to mean that your teammate's going to be all alone.
Right you are, Nate, and Daryl Lee is back on the attack again against Kyle Evans as they battle for positions. As they head into the big turn, Daryl Lee cannot quite do it, and Kyle Evans has successfully defended that position for now. So lap 11, Sandra Justice is still in the lead, followed by Bill Duke, Ashton Cunningham, Dante Glum, and Richard Powers closing out the top 5, with Kyle Evans, Daryl Lee, Tyler Marks close behind. But here comes Julie Armstrong around the hairpin. She will get past both Tyler Marks and Will Duke, and that'll put her up to 8th as she fights her way through the midfield. Drivers are coming around the big turn on lap 12. It looks like Richard Powers might be making a move on Dante Glum. As they come through the big turn, they're bumper to bumper as they head towards the hairpin. Richard Powers is going to sneak through on the inside, but Dante Glum gets around the hairpin faster. Big bump there from Richard Powers. Dante Glum will rocket ahead as he defends his position. Keeping an eye on the midfield here, we can see Andrew White has dropped back far from where he started at the beginning of this race. It's not looking good for either members of Grazed Green. Now we come around, Daryl Lee hitting the barrel hard. Kyle Evans will move up behind Richard Powers now, looking for that top 5 position. But Daryl Lee, Julie Armstrong, and Will Duke are close behind, still scrambling for positions here. Tyler Marks dropping back a little bit from the midfield. He'll be now contending with Molly West and Henry Young. Back to the front now, Sandra Justice still with a commanding lead. Here comes Ashton Cunningham around the big turn. He'll look to the inside of Bill Duke, and he will move up to 2nd. Ashton Cunningham coming around the hairpin in a very comfortable 2nd place in front of Bill Duke. Behind him is Dante Glum, Richard Powers, Kyle Evans, and Daryl Lee holding into that midfield. As they come around the big turn, we can see Dante Glum, Richard Powers, Kyle Evans, and Daryl Lee all bumper to bumper. As they approach the hairpin, we might see some movement here, Nate. Kyle Evans and Darrell Lee dropping back, but Richard Powers is sticking with Dante Glum as they come to the hairpin.
We're side by side to the hairpin. Come on, Richard.
But it's not quite enough as Richard Powers is blocked by Dante Glum. Ahead to lap 16, Kyle Evans almost making the pass on Richard Powers, but hits the inside wall, and he will drop back with Darrell Lee. Zooming out now, we can see just how spread out the field has gotten. There is not a lot of competition for these top 5 positions. Going down the field, we see Sandra Justice in the lead, followed by Ashton Cunningham, Bill Duke, Dante Glum, Richard Powers closing out the top 5, Kyle Evans, Darrell Lee, Julie Armstrong, Will Duke, and Henry Young closing out the top 10. And there's Tyler Marks, Molly West, Demi McKnight, Ryan Steele, Andrew White, and Frank Clemens, who's actually 3rd in the points right now, is trailing behind in 16th. He's gonna have to start moving through the field if he wants a shot at the championship. Looking back to the race now, we can see Will Duke making some moves, moving up a few positions ahead of Julie Armstrong and Darrell Lee. Darrell Lee will go side by side with Will Duke as they come to the big turn. Darrell Lee will make the pass. Will Duke still ahead of Julie Armstrong as they head through the big turn. They're coming around now to the big turn's barrel. We'll see what happens here. Julie Armstrong will get the bad hit on the barrel.
Oh, but look at this, Jeff. Richard's making some plays on Dante. He's going to go outside through the hairpin.
Gonna be close, but Richard Powers manages to squeeze by Dante Glum as they head through the hairpin.
Attaboy, Richard.
That'll be Richard Powers in 4th, with Dante Glum in 5th. And as they're heading through the big turn, Ashton Cunningham has closed in on Sandra Justice. He's looking to the inside. They're side by side as they close in on the hairpin. And Ashton Cunningham will just barely sneak ahead of Sandra Justice.
No, not him.
And we have a new leader as we come around for lap 20.
God, not the gold drip fuckers. Come on, Sandra. Chase them down.
You really don't like gold drip, do you?
Of course I don't, Jeff. I would rather see Red Electric win every single race with their electric cars than gold drip. Yeah,
Nate,
fuck
please
you,
sit down, Nate.
Fuck you, Ashton. Fuck you.
Right, well, as Nate has just celebrated, Sandra Justice has retaken the lead from Ashton Cunningham.
Goddamn right she did, Jeff. Fucking Queen slaying or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But fuck you, Ashton.
Right, well, as you all know now, Sandra Justice is back in the lead, followed by Ashton Cunningham, Bill Duke, Richard Powers, and Kyle Evans closing out the top 5 with Dante Glum in 6th, Darrell Lee in 7th. And Ashton Cunningham is sticking with Sandra Justice as they come through the hairpin. Kyle Evans is trying to do the same thing to Richard Powers, eating away at that lead and trying to gain some positions. And as they come around the big turn, we can see Richard Powers and Kyle Evans slowly closing in on Bill Duke. This is the first time we've seen that 3rd place position really contested here. We might see some action as they come to the hairpin. Everybody holding positions for now, but you can see Ashton Cunningham right behind Sandra Justice and Richard Powers and Kyle Evans right behind Bill Duke. The top 5 has not been this close in some time, but all 5 of these drivers are pulling away from the rest of the pack now. It looks like they're going to be having their own battles well ahead of the other racers. Coming to the hairpin, Ashton Cunningham is looking to maneuver around Sandra Justice. It looks like they're going to trade positions as they go through the hairpin. Sandra Justice will barely pull ahead and defend her position.
Oh, shit.
And Julie Armstrong flies out of the track, and the caution flag comes out right at the start of lap 24. Caution came out right at the start of the lap. The rest of the drivers are going to be racing back to the caution, and we will line back up on lap 25. As they come around, Ashton Cunningham is ahead of Sandra Justice. As they come to the hairpin, Sandra Justice cannot catch up, so Ashton Cunningham will take pole position on the restart with Sandra Justice in 2nd, Bill Duke in 3rd, Richard Powers just barely getting by Kyle Evans, and they will close out the top 5 as we restart on lap 25 of the Firecracker 40.
Wait, Jeff, look at the infield. You can see them. Right there in the infield. You can see the drivers, too.
Once again, Nate, I have no idea what you're talking about, and we are lined back up to resume this race on lap 25 with Ashton Cunningham in the lead. Big scramble for positions here at the barrel, and Richard Powers will pull ahead into 2nd, followed by Darrell Lee in 3rd, Sandra Justice in 4th, and Dante Glum closing out the top 5 with Bill Duke right behind. More pushing and bumping for positions here. Dante Glum is trying to push ahead. Sandra Justice will actually drop back. Here we go, big pile up at the hairpin, and it's Dante Glum in the lead as we come around for lap 26 with Darrell Lee in 2nd, Richard Powers in 3rd. As they come to the barrel in the big turn, Richard Powers will move up to 2nd. Ashton Cunningham is in 4th, Bill Duke in 5th, Sandra Justice looks like she's going to start making a run on the top 5, but she goes in too low and will hit the inside barrel in the big turn as they come to the hairpin. Dante Glum getting a big push there, holding on to his lead. It's Bill Duke back up in second, Ashton Cunningham into third, and as they come to the big turn, Mountain Power is right behind Ashton Cunningham. They're going to go 3 wide through the big turn. Daryl Lee gets sent to the inside and he will drop back, but Richard Powers looks like he's going to make a pass on the outside.
Yeah, there you go,
Ashton Cunningham is sent to the inside wall, and Richard Powers surges up to second behind Dante Glum.
Oh, he's got a fire in him now, Jeff. He's going for that win.
Right you are, Nate. That restart has given Richard Powers some new momentum, and he is charging through the field right now as he is right behind Dante Glum here on lap 28. Dante Glum hanging on to a slim lead over Richard Powers. Looks like Richard's playing it safe through the big turn. As they're coming to the hairpin now, Richard Powers is nearly bumper to bumper with Dante Glum.
You got it, buddy. You got it.
They come in. He's going to push Dante Glum to the inside wall and make his move. And Richard Powers will take the lead at the end of lap 28.
Now that's the Richard I like to see, Jeff. The one that charges forward, pushes through the pack, wins races, and doesn't let anything get in his way.
It was certainly an impressive move by Richard Powers. But as they're coming through the big turn now, he's having some trouble. Dante Glum and Sandra Justice will make the pass. And then coming through the hairpin, Richard Powers has dropped back to third now.
God, right after I got done hyping him up, Jeff, how could he do that to me?
I don't think he was trying to tear your heart out, Nate. I think that's just how it goes here at WIRLY Miniracers. With that said, Dante Glum has retaken the lead with Sandra Justice in second, Richard Powers in third, Bill Duke in fourth, Daryl Lee in fifth. But Richard Powers moves up to second as they close in on the hairpin. Can't quite make a move on Dante Glum and is now trying to reclaim his position from Sandra Justice. He will. And everybody looks like they're going to maintain their positions on lap 31. Looking back at the rest of the field, everybody has been shuffled around by the restart. Kyle Evans, who was battling for a top 5 position, has dropped all the way back to 13th. Looking back to the front now, everybody is waiting for the hairpin. Ashton Cunningham trying to make an early move on Daryl Lee. They're moving back and forth on each other. We'll see who comes out for that 5th place position. They're side by side as they come in on lap 32. It's going to be Ashton Cunningham pulling ahead for 5th. And now Demi McKnight looking to the inside of Daryl Lee as they head through the big turn. And we just missed it as they headed through the big turn, but Richard Powers has taken the lead once again. Bill Duke now surging up to second past the other drivers. Sandra Justice now looking to get around Dante Glum and Bill Duke. She will now move up to second, is now battling with Richard Powers side by side there for a moment as they head through the hairpin. Richard Powers clinging onto a slim lead. Dante Glum is not out of the race yet. He's back up to third, looking to get around Sandra Justice. And Ashton Cunningham's in fourth. He's also fighting for those top 5 positions. Dante Glum going to get a huge jump off the line. He will now move up to second ahead of Sandra Justice. We're now seeing more battling for position between the rest of the top 5. And it looks like Demi McKnight and Tyler Marks are going to join the top 5 in 4th and 5th respectively.
Nobody's holding anything back after that restart, Jeff. Everybody's running wild on this track.
Right you are, Nate, and as they head through the big turn, it's Richard Powers, Dante Glum, and Sandra Justice in the top 3, pulling ahead of the rest of the drivers that are still scrambling for positions. There's Tyler Marks in 4th and Bill Duke in 5th. We're going to see some contact here on the hairpin. Tyler Marks still pulling ahead. Demi McKnight battling for 5th with Bill Duke now. Doesn't look like it'll work out for her, and she will in fact drop back behind Ashton Cunningham. Looking back to the front, Richard Powers has found his footing again and is absolutely running away with this one, Nate.
I don't want to jinx it, Jeff, but it don't look like anything could stop Richard now.
He just has to keep it smooth for a little bit longer, Nate, with just 5 laps to go here at the Firecracker 40. We see drivers behind him scrambling for position still. Bill Duke moving up to 4th, but Demi McKnight in 5th. Looks like they're going to try to go 3 wide, scrambling for positions. Demi McKnight will move up to 4th now. As they head around the big turn, it's Demi McKnight in 4th, Tyler Marks in 5th, Bill Duke in 6th, and Henry Young in 7th as the top 3 begin to pull away. Coming to the hairpin now, these drivers are still very close. They're going to make more contact on the hairpin. Demi McKnight trying to hang on to her position here. Unfortunately, she is in a must-win situation, and it doesn't look like she's going to be able to catch back up with the leaders. Just ahead, Sandra Justice is closing in on Dante Glum. She could be trying to make a move at the hairpin. We'll see if she can pull it off.
Gonna be tricky, Jeff. I don't think Dante's gonna let himself get pushed into the wall again.
It's not quite gonna work. Dante Glum hanging on to second as they come through the hairpin. Demi McKnight still battling for fourth. Now Ashton Cunningham is looking to the inside as they head towards the big turn. He will drop back. Demi McKnight still hanging on to her fourth place position. Bill Duke looks like he's making a run on Demi McKnight as they head through the big turn. Little bit of contact there. Demi McKnight goes low. She will hit the barrel. Ashton Cunningham does the same and drop back. Bill Duke now in fourth. Daryl Lee now gets by Demi McKnight as they head through the hairpin. Did the same move that Richard did on Dante Glum to take the lead. And Demi McKnight will drop back to sixth behind Daryl Lee in fifth and Bill Duke in fourth.
You know, this season hasn't looked very good for the Violet Reapers. And even if Demi gets eliminated here, she's still fighting till the end, Jeff.
Right you are, Nate, and as they close in on the hairpin, we can see those top 5 racers spreading out. But Demi McKnight gets a big push off Tyler Marks. She will power through the hairpin, get past Daryl Lee, and get back into the top 5 as we head into the final lap of the Firecracker 40. White flag is out as Richard Powers is still pulling away with Dante Glum in second. Bill Duke could try and make a play here, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make up that ground. And as they head through the hairpin, nobody can challenge Richard Powers, and he will win the Firecracker 40.
Woo! You love to see it, Jeff.
Dante Glum will get second, Sandra Justice is in third, Bill Duke in fourth, and Demi McKnight closing out the top 5. A very strong finish for the Violet Reapers. This is the first top 5 finish for both of these drivers. And for the second time in his Cup Series career, Richard Powers is a race winner here at the Colosseum Speedway.
And I'll never get tired of seeing Richard win, Jeff. It is a sight to behold.
I'm sure he won't get tired of it either, Nate. Looking to the point standings now, we can see Will Duke, Kyle Evans, Molly West, Julie Armstrong, Demi McKnight, and Ryan Steele have been eliminated as championship contenders. Demi McKnight, even with that top 5 finish, could not put up enough points. Sandra Justice, meanwhile, still holds the lead with just 3 points over Richard Powers.
Well, I think those two are the real contenders this season, Jeff. I mean, nobody's even close.
Long shots or not, Nate, we still have 10 contenders for the WIRLY Miniracers Cup Series Championship as we head into race 7. But that's all we have for now. Thank you for watching WIRLY Miniracers, and we hope to see you all next time.